Mi-Soul.
Interesting.
And it was a challenge as a drummer, just from a physical piece, is to play the same beat over and over again, but make it interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
without the time signature changes.
Yeah, without it changing, without some crazy. And even with James Brown, he was a master of the B section of a song, where the tempo didn't change, where the chords were still just very basic chords. The groove never lost its groove, so to speak. And so, I mean, it was a lot borrowed from him in all of it.
Now, when we first started talking a while ago, we were talking about Donald Byrd and the fact that that he put some younger players with some older players and it didn't quite work out. Sometimes ideas don't gel, whether it be in the studio or on the stage or whatever. But one of the things I noticed about the BlackByrds now is that you have integrated very successfully some younger players into the movement. So how have you managed to be able to do something that he couldn't?
Because I have a different relationship with those musicians.
Okay.
One is my student, was one, and Paul. I mean, I've been teaching Paul since he was in the 9th grade. And I kind of groomed him to do this, to kind of give him something else to do from the way he lived in his community. And Elijah is from Howard. He went to Howard University, so he played in Howard University jazz band and all that kind of stuff. But I think that playing funk music, and that whole piece is part of their generation too. So whereas you picked a jazz drummer like Joe Chambers, a wonderful drummer, a wonderful musician, funk was not really part of his thing. So blending him with a guy that's just going to be chick, chick, chick all night, he's going to be like crazy. Like, what are you doing? I need you. Could you play something else? Whereas these guys are already accustomed, they're already groomed to know how to do those kind of things. So I think what I've been able to do with the younger people is just play to their strengths, because I mean their music is still about repetition, it's still about hooks and vamps and that kind of thing. So, and Bird just didn't, that Hank Mobley side and the Cats, just they weren't quite, into that.
Yeah, I mean that whole Hank Mobley thing, because I mean he was quite a delicate saxophonist anyway, and so it kind of wouldn't have worked, would it? It just wouldn't have worked. He was just too subtle as a player, not aggressive enough to be able to do that. And then obviously you would have obviously died by the time you got to do this, but the likes of John Coltrane would have been too much the other way. So finding that sort of happy medium must have been quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I think
that's how you ended up with Alan Barnes, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Alan, and of course Alan's from Detroit, like Donald, and Alan's uncle Bobby Barnes, who grew up with Donald. So and being from Detroit, and there's a lot of great musicians in Detroit, but having Motown basically born in your city really puts a stamp on R&B music. Okay, and I don't care who you are. If you're from Detroit, you have to know something about Motown. And I just think the musicians like Ricky Lawson and all those drummers that came from Detroit. I mean, they had, because his uncle was Paul Reiser as well. That thing just became part. They played jazz because Ricky played with Roy Ayers and those people, but you still had that pocket thing. So I think it just came being born in that city.
And what was amazing about that, I always found with the Motown guys, is that they'll record with Motown and then they'll go out in the middle of the night, go and do some stuff with Jackie Wilson across the other side of town.
Exactly.
Effectively, although they were all working for rival labels, it was basically the same bang, all of those songs that were coming out. Which I always found tremendously brilliant. I just thought there's such a great story there. And you listen to Higher and Higher, and you've got oh blimey, I can't remember his name now. The guy playing the bass.
Paul Jameson.
No, James Jameson.
James Jameson.
James Jameson playing bass on that brilliant bass line. And Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and all of that. Doing that whole thing with one finger, because he plays the whole thing with one. What is that? I mean, that's the most incredible thing to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, he was phenomenal. And the bass line, and I think that's what made the music so unique. I mean, the drum beat was good, but the bass line, and if you were just to take bass lines, to listen to Bootsy playing with James Brown, listen to Jameson with Motown, and and
Larry Graham,
Larry Graham,
yeah.
you know, Joe Hall, those walking in rhythm bass line.
Yeah.
Those bass lines really kind of sold it. That was kind of the glue for it.
And you notice, I mean, because your music actually, the BlackByrds music is very rhythmic, very syncopated, and so you know, you just think about the intro to Rock Creek Park for a second on the guitar there, you know. It's almost played like a percussion instrument, that.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear it, you know, as a DJ, for instance, if you're mixing, you know, actually, who was it that played the guitar on that? Orville. Man, I mean, he doesn't move. I mean, it's almost like it's computerized. You know, he's really got it. There's no wavering in it at all. You can loop that and just play it over and over again on the back end of something else, and it never drops a beat. It's incredible, really. You know.
Yeah. That's it, and that's again that's that James Brown influence, because that line is from you know just a combination of different.
Yeah, give it up, turn it loose. It's a bit like that kind of thing, isn't it? You know, and
yeah. Usher sang actually. Usher sang Rock Creek Park in D.C. one time. Yeah.
So you were in London to play at the Barbican, the Donald Byrd tribute, with Larry Mi-Soul there as well. I mean, how did you manage to get him out of America?
Well, you know, Larry's and I have been friends for a long, long time, and you know, I just have the utmost respect for him as a musician. I mean, he taught me how to write music. You know,
scientifically.
Scientifically, and it wasn't really much science. I mean, they'd come into a session, and they'd sit at the piano. Fonts would sit out there in the room and noodle around on the piano and whatever for about a couple hours. And come out, we got it. All right, here we go. What? We don't know what we don't. We know what keys. Okay, let's go. Start playing. Okay, and so we're getting up then. So they'd write, you know, the section changes on like big pieces of paper and say, okay, B. And, you know, just look up in the control room and say, oh, okay, B. We don't know what B is, but you know, and they created something called snatches. Those kind of things, and it was exciting. You know, we never really knew what it was going to ever sound like for real, but it didn't matter. You know, there was an energy that ran through that whole piece. It was wonderful.
So you had him on stage with you, and also Donald's son was there as well, telling stories of his dad and
Tucson. Yeah, and Tucson and I, we've been friends since then, because Donald would bring him on the road, and we were just getting out of early college, you know, so he was always there, and we were always friends, and, you know, he was able to we actually roommates, we went on the road together, you know, that kind of thing.
So who's got the awesome job of playing the trumpet then? Who was that had to do that?
Young guy by the name of Russell Gunn, and the other trumpetist, Thaddeus Wilson. So and they're contemporaries, and the thing is, it seems easy, I guess, because Donald was such a clever soloist. I mean, if you listen to his jazz, like Black Pearl and all that, Coltrane, it's like phenomenal. But he just knew he had taste, this incredible taste. So when you try to get some guys to duplicate it, you know, when you first listen to it, it's like, well, okay, yeah, I can do that. But when you listen to it, it's like, wow, all of this makes so much sense musically. You know, it's like, how did he think of that? You know, aside from Freddie Hubbard or Lee Morgan or whatever, Eddie Henderson or whatever, but he just had this knack, Miles even, just solo, so clever. Yeah.
So when you put an ensemble together like this, and I've spoken to a couple of people who have done this before, and I interviewed Marcus Miller, and he was talking about Luther Vandross, because he was looking at putting some kind of thing together to celebrate Luther's music and so on. So I said, how do you find a vocalist, you know, to do that? Because let's face it, there's no one better, so what do you do? And he said the easiest thing to do is to go in completely the opposite direction, otherwise it just sounds like a karaoke.
Right.
And I thought that was a really interesting way of attacking it. So do you do the same sort of thing here? Do you say, well, look, you know, you have the skeletal structure of the songs, so if you're doing dominoes, for instance, you know, you kind of know how it's going to go. That iconic trumpet in that song, it's a great piece to actually use as illustration, because it's got a very specific sound to it. So you can play that, but actually put your own little nuances in there as well. Is that what you would say to the player, rather than say, don't imitate Donald Byrd, you know, just play the song, that play it your way.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you can't play it like him anyway, and you don't want it to be just a copy of it. Let the song mean something to you. The song means something to you. It'll play itself. You don't really have to struggle too hard to find out what you're going to do on it. Because if you just get absorbed into the music, it'll pull you right there. Then you'll hear conceptually what's going on. So those ideas and concepts they'll just be under your fingers. You know?
So how long has the band been back together now? It's about 2012, is it something like that?
No, we actually I reformed the band in 1999.
Okay.
A guy, Jonan, by the name of Chris Morgan's, plays with a group called Down to the Bone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he called me. I don't know how he got my phone number, but he called me and said, "Hey man."
Through Adrian Gibson, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about putting the band back together and coming to the UK? I said, "Oh, okay, sure, let's do it." So we came in 1999 to the Jazz Cafe and played there for a week. And it was wonderful. I had another student of mine, Janelle Gill. She was Lady Bird. She was only, 17 at the time, and we did, we had Marshall Keys and another saxophone. So I've had different people along the way, trying to be put it together. But yeah, that's been, I put it back together. So.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because you've got new players now in the band. What are the plans for the future? Are you going back into the studio? Are you going to record again? I mean, you're going to be talking to Larry. You've been talking to Larry, so has he got any ideas about what you might be able to do moving forward?
Yeah, well, everybody's really pumped after that, and so we're definitely going to the studio. There's not a question about that. The approach to some of the things we're going to try to do. Alan has written some songs for Jay Dilla. So we're going to record a couple of those selections of songs that he wrote. And Larry's written some new songs. And yeah, we're going to do, my thing now is I'm trying to kind of move this whole program to the next level. In terms of musical, in terms of movies, and other places for the band to record and do some other stuff. I mean, recording is cool, but I'd love to do something about the story, because we are at this the winter season, for many of us. So, I really want to capture all of that,
And it's quite a story, isn't it? The legacy is impressive,
yeah.
And so much so. You talk about 70s funk, if you like, which influenced the generation, not only in the 70s, but also as a renaissance in the 80s as well, because, let's be fair about it, if there was no 70s funk, there wouldn't be any hip-hop. So, the whole basis of that hip-hop movement came out of the 70s funk era, using samples of songs. And your guys, you've been sampled many times by numerous artists, and I bet you've not been paid for half of them, But
it's one thing. I just pulled this list up, and it's probably like about 75 bands. I saw some that I knew, like Queen Latifah and Tupac Shakur, people like that, sang some of stuff. Wiz Khalifa, stuff like that. But
I put a little list together here, actually. It's only a small one, but I wrote Gangstar, Full Force, De La Soul, NWA, Big Daddy Kane, Heavy D, Nas, Tone Loc, and Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah. And that's cool because it keeps the music alive, number one, and there's still more, because like my son will come and say, "Dad, hey, here's your song, man." And then I don't know who the artist is, but it's like, Lulu. I mean, wow, okay, cool.
We did a 3-second snippet looped over and over again.
Yeah. But that's okay. It's okay. We do get paid for some of it, so that's okay. But the other piece is that if they thought it was that interesting to use, then that's okay, because there's still, that concept is still there. So.
I think Rock Creek Park is a great example, because it's very, I suppose when you record a piece like that, it's very easy to sample, isn't it? Because of the way that the song is actually built.
Yeah.
So there are large segments of it that you could take and reuse and recompute and do something very clever with.
Right.
And you even mentioned that that Usher sung that song at a gig, and so on.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what he did with that. I'd be interested.
He did. It was.
Did he murder it, or was it all right?
No. There was a tribute to Barack Obama as his administration was leaving, And so Usher was like the entertainment. So he did the James Brown piece first, and went straight out of the James Brown piece right into doing it in the park. And it was beautiful. Questlove was playing drums, and some of the finer musicians around. It was great. Everybody was calling me, "Hey man, they're singing your song, man. Go get your check." It's like, okay, but it was good. It was good.
My Soul.
Now that's the good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.